Okay, so we need to talk about lanterns and what this show is proving about the state of DC and how Marvel, my sweet, sweet Marvel, who without question has bested DC when it comes to theatrical film success, but on the small screen, they just cannot hold a candle to HBO. Hey everyone, Colton here, and I am sorry that I have yet to talk about lanterns. I've just been swamped. I wanted to cover the pilot, an episode which was very cleverly titled Pilot because, well, it's the first episode, but also because
I'm a fighter pilot.
I am loving this show, or as Jon Stewart would say, I am fucking loving this show.
What the fuck? And what the fuck?
I love the mystery of the story, I love the dark comedy nature to it, and I love how this show feels like, above everything else, just a really good show, one that anyone could turn on and watch and enjoy. And if you happen to be a big Green Lantern and DC fan, then you'll appreciate it even more. Or in the case of some fans, not at all. So look, this show, it isn't at all what you would expect out of a Green Lantern show, right? And I understand why some might have had something very different in mind for what a Green Lantern series would be. But if you ask me, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's very Green Lantern. I mean, it's two space cops investigating an alien invasion in small-town Nebraska. That is Green Lantern. He is the guardian of Earth. This is exactly the type of mission you would expect to see Green Lantern on. I love the grizzled old dog vibe that they have given to Hal Jordan. I love the hungriness of Jon Stewart to become Green Lantern. I love the dichotomy between their two characters and their constant bickering, but also this joint respect that you can see does indeed exist between the two characters. I am really digging the True Detective kind of Taylor Sheridan feel that they are bringing to it. It's HBO, man. That's who we have to thank for this show being so right. HBO's DC shows, not to be confused with other DC show properties, such as the CW shows, HBO's DC shows are better than anything else in the game of comic book TV. And I say that as a lover of Daredevil, Loki, WandaVision, but none of them come close to what HBO has done with their DC properties. And HBO is a key reason that Lantern's predecessors like Penguin and Peacemaker have been so top-notch and have been able to achieve that goal of being quality television that anyone can tune into and really enjoy regardless of being a comic book fan or not. Now, everyone knows I'm a Gunn glazer, right? So it's going to be no surprise when I say that James Gunn is the one largely responsible to thank for the brilliance behind Peacemaker, but Penguin, that is an even better example of a show that is, of course, a DC Comics show with references and story beats that DC Comics fans will enjoy, but like Lanterns, Penguin, it is just a great show that anyone can turn on. You don't need to have seen the Reeves and Pattinson Batman, it helps, but you don't have to have seen it because before everything else, Penguin, it is just a well put together show made by the best of the best in the business, the folks at HBO. And that's what you can always expect from HBO. They are a premium brand that does not under any circumstances put out crap. They have a track record that I'd argue is second to none. Maybe you could say Apple TV Plus is getting on par with HBO, but you know, when you see HBO above the title of a series, you know it is going to be well worth your time. But it's not those three little letters that make the shows great, it's the commitment to excellence, the culture at HBO that brand has and has had for years. Now, why am I focusing so much on the HBO of it all? You want to hear me talk about Lanterns, right? Well, look, my friend Lee did the best breakdown on the internet for this show over on Screen Crush, pointing out all the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed. So I have no interest in trying to compete with that. Also, I'm contractually prohibited. But instead, I wanted to tell you why I love this show and the lessons that Marvel could and should desperately learn from HBO in order to compete in the realm of TV, and some lessons in a roundabout way that DC Studios could learn from Marvel when it comes to their films. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is there is a team behind, and I don't know any of their names, but you know they have to exist. There is a team behind HBO proper, like the HBO shows, and making sure that there is a certain level of quality that gets maintained. But I think there's a correlation between Lanterns being an HBO show and Lanterns being the first DCU project, the first DC Studios project, not written and directed by James Gunn, that's actually any good. The DCU consists of Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns, and then we have Clayface coming out soon. But thus far, the only two DCU projects not created by James Gunn are Supergirl and Lanterns. And while Supergirl wasn't awful, it wasn't that good either. Now, soon we're going to begin to see if Supergirl was just a bump in the road, and if Clayface comes out and it's absolutely phenomenal, then that will be a sign that maybe Supergirl was a fluke and that DC Studios can make DC projects without James Gunn being the writer and director and them still be good. But if Clayface comes out and it sucks or is just fine, then that starts becoming a bit more of a pattern where non-James Gunn written and directed DC studio movies are bad. Again, that will only be 2 movies. That's a very small sample size, but it will be a step in the wrong direction. So look, James Gunn, he is the head of DC Studios and very much so had a hand in the creation of Lanterns, but this is not a James Gunn show. He didn't write it, he didn't direct it, I don't believe he was even on set that much, if at all. This show does not have James Gunn's fingerprints all over it. But what this show did have was HBO there to be quality control and make sure that this show that they are putting out with their prestige name on it is one of top-notch quality. And Lanterns being so good where Supergirl just kind of fell flat on its face, that is making me wonder if the movies, the DC Studios movies, may benefit from having someone, an equivalent to HBO, there in the room. Because here's what we're running into. DC Studios, it has 2 studio heads, James Gunn and Peter Safran. Now, Peter Safran, he is a business-oriented guy who does a great job at putting the right people together to make quality product. That's what a producer needs to do. Now, being a producer, it is a little different than being a studio head, is a little different than being a studio head of an interconnected cinematic universe. Now, as I mentioned, so far there have been 2 DCU movies, Superman and Supergirl. One was written and directed by James Gunn, one was not. One was very good, one was not. Now, 2 movies, like I said, not a good sample size. We need Clayface and some other non-Gunn projects on the big screen to come out before we can determine if DC Studios has a quality problem. My hope is that Clayface comes out and proves that Supergirl was just a bump in the road. But if Clayface comes out and it's not very good, then we're going to have to start looking at DC Studios needing the movie equivalent to a prestige quality management team like those at HBO. I want James Gunn to still have full creative control of this cinematic universe, but if James Gunn is going to continue to write and direct his own DC movies, pulling him away from his studio head job, then that means that he needs some deputies, some proven track record producers to come in and help execute his vision and guide these creatives, these writers, directors, cinematographers, colorists, editors. He needs producers who have a proven track record of maintaining quality control and putting out banger after banger by managing the project. And I think the reason that Lanterns is proving to be so damn good without having to have James Gunn there to hold their hands is because HBO and its team of proven track record producers were there to put together a quality team of creatives and held those creatives to a standard. And that's what James Gunn and Peter Safran need, a team of producers. Not too many cooks in the kitchen, I'm not calling for that, not people with egos and big ideas about what the DCU needs to be, no. But just a proven team of people who have worked in this business for a long time, have a proven track record of putting out quality films, and can be there, like HBO's team has been there for Lanterns, be there for the movies so that James Gunn can go do things like Man of Tomorrow, but that not then result in a Supergirl situation. Right now, DC Studios, I don't think it has that. I think DC Studios is leaning way too heavily on James Gunn. This studio is young. It's a brand new studio that has only made they've made 3 movies and they're making a 4th movie, but right now they have only so far released 2 movies. This studio needs a team bigger than James Gunn. Producers who have worked at Marvel Studios, A24, Neon, Searchlight, you name it. People with a track record. And that's what I think Lanterns and its quality and the fact that it's an HBO show is telling us about the DCU film division. All that's my roundabout way of saying Lanterns is really, really good. And it's a good sign that DC Studios can make really good stuff without James Gunn having to be in the room. And that's important. And I hope that, like HBO has done this for Lanterns, and I hope will continue to do this for any and all future DC shows that aren't James Gunn written and directed, I hope that they can find a similar team of people that can do that for the DC films. Because if they can do that, if James Gunn can have deputies whose job it is to essentially make sure this doesn't suck, make sure we are not rushing this, make sure we are not cutting corners. If he can have those deputies there on sets, making sure things are going right, which is what HBO does with its productions, if they can have that for the films, DC is going to be in a really solid position. So yeah, there's my thoughts on Lanterns so far and what it means for DC. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I will see you next time. Bye!